Aum Sri Sai. With humility and reverence, I offer my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I deem it another privilege and a blessing from him to able to bring this next episode of his story through the eyes of his boys. We have started this series exploring this divine knowledge of Ved. So let us continue this journey with our prayer as always, and I request all of you to please join me in. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Sri Sai Ram, and welcome all of you to this beautiful and blessed episode on Ved. As you know, last episode we had done exploring the origin, which was Aum Kr. The importance of Ved can be understood when Avatar declares that one of his main purposes of Advent is Vedodharana, the re-establishment of Veda. Now, what does it mean? What is Ved? That is our humble attempt to explore and dwell into it. So we'll continue with our journey, and without further ado, let me introduce to you my respected brothers who will be joining me today and enlightening us. So let me start off at the foremost with brother Bhimeshwar Sharma Kaleri. Sai Ram Bhimeshwar Garu.
Sai Ram.
Welcome to this episode of his story through the eyes of his boys. Let me give a small introduction to you, brother, yours, so people can get at least an idea about you. Brother Bhimeshwar joins us from Hyderabad. He was a student in 1976 in Vrindavan campus when he joined in 11th grade, and then went on to do his graduation and post-graduation. In fact, at that time, the college had just started and they would be privileged. I think few of them were privileged to stay in the hostel and study in the Bangalore University for their master's course. After which he was blessed to come to Prashanti Nilayam, and there he also had a privilege of being a teacher at Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School, and he taught physics there. He did his MA in philosophy, and he became very good. I would say he practiced Ved and his chanting. So for over 17 years, Bhimeshwar Garu, you had the blessing of being with Bhagwan. How does it look like to you, Bhimeshwar Garu, when you look back?
It was a great pleasure, and never thought that I would get that opportunity to be with Bhagwan, and I cherish those years even till date.
Bhimeshwar Garu, were you interested or exposed to Vedas before you became a student? How did your interest in Vedic knowledge arise?
I definitely had interest by listening to some of the things like, the mantra pushpam, which had repetitions, thinking that, oh, it's so easy for me to learn, so why not I learn? Because of that fascination, right? I got interested in learning the Veda.
So Parthi gave you that kind of an encouragement, because I remember in up to 80s it was very selective learning, not the whole class, whole school and college was learning. So when we
Right.
started learning, it was so your interest was just to hear Vedas.
Yeah, that was before even I joined Brindavan. So
Okay.
once I joined Brindavan, then we got an opportunity where Bhagwan encouraged us, and I was the first person to jump in to start learning.
I remember you were the classmate of Mr. Vedanarayan, sir.
Right.
So you were very prominent, both of you, sitting there in front and chanting for Bhagwan.
And ShivShankar Sai also.
ShivShankar Sai said, yes. So let me introduce him, welcome him. So let me call in Brother ShivShankar Sai, sir. Sai Ram, sir.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
It's always a pleasure to have you back, sir.
It's my privilege.
Let me give a few words of introduction about you two, and I'm sure people know you. In the Sai fraternity, you are a familiar face. But Brother ShivShankar Sai, sir, is actually a professor in physics, former dean of science faculty, and he has been in Prashantinilayam campus. His, I would say, one of the most cherished, if I may say, sir, your designation or duty in Perthi was the warden of hostel, senior boys hostel, and he was one of the longest serving wardens of our campus, and very privileged, a very humble person. He has spent over, I would say, 3 decades at the lotus feet of Bhagwan, and we are always pleasure and indebted to you when you come and share your knowledge, sir. Welcome.
Sai Ram, thank you. It's my privilege.
Let me bring in Brother Anil Kumar. Brother Anil, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
You are also not a non-familiar face. You people know you now, but I'll do my duty of giving a little bit of introduction to you. Brother Anil has a privilege of not only studying in Vrindavan, Parthi, but his family is staying in Parthi with Bhagwan. I would say that he was from his childhood with Swami. He has spent over 30 years as a student at Bhagwan's lotus feet. And he was there from 1979 to 2007, in which he has done his graduation, post-graduation, PUC, sorry. He started 11th, 12th, then post-graduation, and all that PhD. And in fact, he was faculty of Department of Chemistry. And presently, he has got multiple roles, but just to say a few is like Chief Scientific Officer. He's Arna at, I think you are in Hyderabad only, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And technical advisor to Nagarjun Fertilizers. So he got a lot of roles. So Brother Anil, welcome to this episode again.
It's a pleasure and a blessing to be with my elder brothers and to share and learn in this journey on trying to recapitulate Swami's message. Thank you. Sai Ram.
Wonderful. So let us jump into the topic. We had in last episode, we were discussing about from Ved, we discussed about the Omkar, which happens to be not only a Pranava Sarupa of the God, but also the source of all the knowledge and everything, what we are exploring further. So if you mind giving a little recap to the audience, Sai sir, Anil Kumar brother.
Offering our collective pranams at Bhagwan's divine lotus feet, the Veda Swarupa himself. Thank you, Abhi, for inviting us and just ruminating over what Bhagwan has mentioned about Vedas and then his message about the Vedas and their relevance for today's world. Last time we had discussed about as you mentioned, about the Omkar, which is the very origin of the Vedas. Om iti Brahma, the very Parabrahman is described as Omkara Swarupa. The origin of the creation itself is the Omkar. This was very elaborately mentioned by Brother Anil. And the Omkar, which consists of the 3 letters, Akara, Ukara, and Makara, and their significance was also dealt. And every mantra in our scriptures, and every month, every name of the Lord is generally associated with the Omkar. Om Sri Sai Parabrahmane Namaha. I mean, every name of the Lord precedes with the Omkar. That's the very significance. This is a monosyllabic Brahman, as Bhagavad Gita describes. And then
Here, sir,
various aspects of this Omkar, and then how that Omkar is the very Moola Mantra, the very basic for everything, from which the whole creation itself had emerged. That was discussed in some form. And then, well, I think that's where I can leave it to Anil to maybe mention a few other things.
yeah, I think Sairam Abhi and Sairam Sir, Sairam Bhimeshwar, with pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. As Sir just now mentioned, uh, in fact, in Veda Mata says, Omiti Brahmana Pravakshanna Brahmo Papnavaniti Brahmaivo Papnoti. Om, when it is any mantram, when it is chanted with Omkaram, then such a person who does the chanting, keeping Omkaram before a mantram, attains the Brahman. This is what is said in Taittiriya Upanishad. So, Omkaram is of that much importance. The reason is, it is, as we discussed extensively, it's a vibration. It is not just the sound. In fact, translation of Omkaram as sound is, rather than sound, I think we should say it's a nada. It is the pranava nada, right? And therefore, the primordial sound from which every other primordial vibration, from which every other form of vibration has emanated. In fact, as we discussed in the last time, we discussed that it is the Shabda is the attribute of Akasha. And Atmana Akashas Bhutaha, we discussed that sequence, right? Akashat Vayuhu Vayor Agni Agnerapah Yah Prithvi Prithivya Oshadayah Oshadhibhyo Anna Purushaha. Right? So in that sequence, if we see the very first attribute that comes to Atma, when Paramatma gets transformed into Atmana Akasha, Akasha, which is the ether or the space that is prevalent everywhere. We discussed this aspect also. There's no space, there's no even
Place.
a small
Place
element
without the-
or even a dot in this universe which does not have space, right? So right from the atom to the universe to the interstellar space that we see, everywhere the space all around, in fact, right? So this space is as the attribute of Shabda, and that Shabda is Omkara. So it is not the sound which requires the medium for transmission. We discussed this quite extensively. And therefore, Omkara is like the ocean from which number of rivers have come up. Means the water gets evaporated, gets converted to varieties of rivers, right? And those rivers, I think you have to mute. Okay. Those rivers, those various rivers are the various Vedas that we see. Or another analogy that we could take is that Omkara is like the final sound that we get in an orchestra. And when we go in depth into the orchestra, each individual instrument is one mantra. Saxophone is one part of the mantra, right? And a violin is another part of the mantra. So together, what comes out is the Omkaram. When we go in depth and tune to specific vibration, it becomes the specific mantra. That's where we say in Veda, we have mantra drashtas. The vibration is all over, right? But then the various forms of vibrations, when they are tuned into, it leads us to visualize a mantra. The drashta word is used. It's
See, that is
actually
what I was trying to ask, because people had asked us also the same thing. If you say space is like a omkar and
Yeah.
the complete knowledge, then how did that space got translated into this scriptural knowledge, which we call as designated as Ved? So, what was the process, if I may put it like that, just for commonality? So, if you can explain this from that perspective, people may get a little idea as to when we say mantra drishta means what.
So mantras, Vedas are, we say, are apaurushaya, right? They are not written by someone. They are seen by someone. They are heard by someone, in other words, right? So in fact, that's where I think a very subtle, important part which we have to note is we don't say mantra is heard, mantra is seen, we say, because it's a vibration which is felt, which is experienced, which is drashta, which is seen, right? So when the mantra is seen, and when is that possible? Like last time, I think Sir explained this.
Yeah,
ShivShankar
maybe.
Sai.
Yeah.
So maybe you can continue, Sir. It's about
Yeah.
how we tune into a
Yeah,
specific
no, this is
frequency.
Bhagwan has mentioned number of times a very beautiful simile from the communication engineering,
Oh,
which is sort of an everyday affair for us. We have so many TV stations, so many radio stations, sending signals day in and day out, and all those signals are just all around us. Everything is around us. And then can we hear them? No. Only when we tune our radio or a TV set to that particular frequency. In the more technical terms, if you want it, the RC circuit, which is we change the frequency in such a manner that frequency matches with the frequency of the signal. Then the resonance is struck and the signal is captured, and then we hear the sound, and also we see if it is a TV signal, visual signal as well as the audio signal. So only when you actually tune the radio set or the TV set, then only you can capture. In a similar manner, Bhagwan says that the knowledge, the Vedic knowledge, the knowledge of the supreme self is all over. It's just that when the rishis, our great sages, with their severe austerities and with severe control of the mind and concentrating the mind towards the God, they fine tune their bodies and mind to see, that to visualize. As he said, drashta is visualization. They visualize when they are in tune with that, the cosmic knowledge, a particular mantram is revealed to them, visualized to them. This is what Bhagwan explains, how these are apaurushaya, are not man-made, but these are God-given. These are actually visualized and then seen by the yogis in their deep meditation when they are completely in tune with the Lord.
I think this is what Swami puts it in a very simple manner, which is a very common thing. I think we earlier in Prashant Nilayam, those either side of the path, there used to be those stone
Slabs with
slabs with quotations written, right? So there was one quotation which always used to really be very first reading. I felt it was very odd quotation, and the quotation is, "Only in the depths of silence can you hear the voice of God." Right? If voice of God is silence, then what are we hearing? Right? So it is actually the vibration is visualized only in that depth. When we fine tune to that resonance, that frequency, I think this is, as Sai devotee, I would say that at some point or the other, all of us would have been maybe mantra drashtas, but we would have surely somewhere felt Bhagwan answering our prayer or responding to us from within. We would have heard the voice of Bhagwan speaking to us, and that is mantra, if you ask me, right? So it is.
So it intrigues me to find out that
No,
Shabda
your
Brahma is
voice is not
also.
heard.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, what I was telling you that what intrigued me was that you explained Shabda is also beyond what we are listening. So in the silence, the real Shabda, and the manifestation of the silence, that Shabda becomes a visible Omkar. So imagine we are still not able to grapple with the what we are hearing, and now there is another big, like an iceberg, which is in silence. We don't know, and then Bhagwan says, in the depth of silence, you can hear the voice of God.
So
So
in
what we are
Nishabda,
listening as
no,
Omkar
the
is
point is,
actually
the funny point is, in Nishabda you hear Shabda.
so it's
Is it not?
Veda describes that as Anahatanada. What
Yeah,
is heard,
Anahatanad.
this
Yeah.
is unheard.
unheard.
Unheard, but felt.
Saying that,
Anahatanada.
yeah, it is so
It is
beautiful.
unheard by the physical ear. So it
Yes.
is Shabda in Nishabda. So
Okay, sir,
that is the vibration.
there is another question which
So
had come to us was that there we claim Vedas claim to have all the stream of knowledges. Then how come certain rishis or certain seers could attract only certain knowledge? What is the logic of it? Why couldn't they get everything?
I think what Sir just now explained, right? I think, Sir, you should take this. ShivShankar Sai brother.
Anybody?
When
Shivshankar
he,
Sai, sir.
Oh, uh, I thought he was speaking. I think the network is little bad. It's getting
yeah,
stuck once in a while. Okay, that's fine. Now,
Bhimeshwar.
the knowledge is everything. As the simile which was given is the signals. All the radio stations or TV stations. Let's concentrate on only one type. That's the radio stations. All of them send out the signals, and all the signals are voice signals. Now these signals, but then one station may be broadcasting, let's say, a music of let's say Vishnu Sahasranamam. Another radio station may be broadcasting some film songs. Another radio station may be broadcasting some speeches. All of them are mixed. It's just that when you tune your radio to the Delhi station, only Delhi radio station waves are captured, and actually you get what is being broadcasted by the Delhi station, which may be a speech from the Prime Minister or whatever. Similarly, if you tune your station to some other, let's say, Vijayawada station, then you will get only the Vijayawada radio station, whatever it's being broadcasted. Similarly, depending on what they are contemplating and what they are trying to seek, different things are revealed to them. This is what I understand.
So
I think
it
this is what,
also,
I think
yes,
here
Anil.
is where we can recall the experience of Gandikoti Subramanya Shastri Garu. As he
Okay.
was meditating, as he was sitting right next to Bhagwan, in tune with Bhagwan, right? This happened in Vrindavan Old Bungalow a day before Christmas. So
I
as he
happen to
was,
also be there.
oh great, really.
We were
So
there in that
Oh, you were there
old
in the
Vrindavan.
room? You were in the
Old
room?
Vrindavan when sir, when he spoke about this.
Aha.
Gandikota Subramanya Shastri sir spoke about this.
yeah.
So please
So
share that
as
story,
he
sir.
was
It will
there,
be
Yeah,
lovely.
go ahead.
yes, yes. So
No,
as he
go
was
ahead.
there, yeah, he saw this mantra of Bhagwan and he chanted it. All of us know, and I think we should all chant it. It's, as Swami said, it is Satya Sai Gayatri. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarvah Prachodayat. So as he saw this and he repeated it, Bhagwan said, "It is my Gayatri." Post that session, he writes in his book during the evening after the darshan session got over, as he returned back to his residence, he was thinking, it seems, have I heard it properly? Because every Gayatri, in the second part of the Gayatri, Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Suppose I take Rudra Gayatri. Om Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaye Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Dantih Prachodayat. So invariably after Tanno and before Prachodayat, the name of the deity comes, right? So he thought, have I heard it right? It should have been Tanno Sai Tanna Sai Prachodayat, right? Or have I not heard it properly? This in fact shows us very important point that he did not write it. Had he written it, he would have corrected it. He saw it as this is a very strong, clear example that he was a drashta. Because Swami clearly said he was a drashta, and that's why we could clearly see he was having this doubt. Have I really heard this thing properly? What Bhagwan had revealed. Is it really Tanna Sarva Prachodayat, or have I missed out and said Tanna Saif Prachodayat? I did not hear properly because of my lack of attention. So he was feeling very bad, it seems. And then when he then came for next day morning darshan, Bhagavan went to him and said, what you have heard is what is the right Gayatri. You have not heard anything wrong. It is Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. And Sarva is because I am Sarva Devata Atita Swarupa. And then Swami quoted that part from the Shivopasana mantra, where we say Sarva. Just give me one moment.
सर्वेभ्यः सर्वशर्वेभ्यो नमस्ते.
सर्वेभ्यः अघोरेभ्यो ठगोरेभ्यो घोरघोरतरेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः सर्वशर्वेभ्यो नमस्ते अस्तु रुद्ररूपेभ्यः. Swami quoted this, Swami chanted this and said, this is the Sarva, it is the same Sarva that is described there. So this is a clear contemporary example of how a rishi, or a person when in deep meditation fine tunes to that resonance, and Bhagavan out of his mercy reveals that mantra. The mantra is seen, visualized by the seer, and that is transferred to all of us, right? So we are blessed that way, that this is, I think, even this whole sequence of his getting this doubt and Swami clarifying, Swami got this, all this drama, Swami made it happen so that to show us that what does mantra drashta mean actually. For us to understand this concept of mantra drashta, I think Swami made this whole thing, not only giving us this I Gayatri, which is the most, we are blessed to have that. Apart from that, Swami also got all this drama done behind to make us understand what is mantra drashta, right? So this one Sai Gayatri tells us what Vedas are. It is Apaurushaya. Gandikoti Subramanya Shastri Garu did not write Sai Gayatri.
Since you have mentioned Shivopasana mantram, Sai sir and Bhimeshwar sir, you can also join in. Can you highlight why Bhagwan quoted that survey, Sarva Sarvebhyo? What does survey that means? And what does it convey when Swami said that is me? That survey is me. Sai sir, Bhimeshwar, anybody, please.
Dinesh? Well, I mean, as he mentioned that Sarva Devata Swarupa, of course, this part has mentioned, he has mentioned, I think, in his book. I remember when he was telling, he said he did not premeditate this one. He said it just occurred to him. Just seeing Bhagwan, that inspiration, as Brother Anil put it, that's a revelation which Bhagwan had given to him at that spur of the moment. He said it's not premeditated or composed Gayatri mantram. And then he went on to also say, then after that he wanted to check, being a scholar in the Vedas, he also said, does it qualify to be a Gayatri meter or not? Because all that thing is a Sai Gayatri. So Gayatri Chandas or the meter has its own rules to follow. It should have three padas, and then each pada should have 8 letters, and then totally 24 letters. So he said that everything matched. So he said it's not, I mean, he definitely wouldn't have done this one. It's just a blessing of Bhagwan that he revealed himself through this Sai Gayatri to him and for the world, for everybody to get the
No, I
benefit.
was asking that sentence which Swami Anil was telling, no, that Swami quoted that
Yeah,
Sarva Sarve Bhyo.
survey.
So what is that significance?
Yeah.
How does
What
Swami
I
say this is
understand,
me?
is that Sarve Tanna Sarvaha Prachodayat. I mean, Sarva, as he mentioned, is everything. I mean, all names are his, and he's above even these names. Sarva Devata and Sarva Devata Atita, also him. He is all names, he is all gods, and he is above all of them too. So that's
Beautiful.
a Sarva includes everything.
Everything. And another way to look at it is because it is sarvebhya sarva sarvebhyo namaste astu rudra rupebhya, right? Even if we connect it to rudra rupa, Vedamata continues in that same Shivopasana mantra to say Sarvo vai rudrastasmai rudraya namostu So vai rudrassanmahon namo namah Vishwam bhutam bhuvanam chitram bahuda jatam jayamanam chet Sarvo hyesha rudrastasmai rudraya namostu. Everything is Rudra Rupa. What is, what was, what will be, everything is going to be Rudra Rupa. There is nothing other than Rudra Rupa. So even if you take Bhagwan's quoting that sentence towards the end, saying that's Rudra Rupebhyaha, right? Even if we give that connotation, it means Bhagwan is Sarva Devata, he is everything. It's very difficult to describe that everything except by stressing the everything more and more. He is everything in this universe, right? That's the only way we can put it.
Just hearing you, it's very
You're
very. Yes,
you're
Bhimeshwar,
taking
go
one
ahead.
step backwards. You're
Yeah.
taking one step backwards. When you say mantra drashta, anyone can become a mantra drashta. By for example, if you take a panchakshari Om Namah Shivaya, if you are able to chant it and then complete it 5 lakhs times, okay, you become a siddha for that mantra. The process is, as you chant, right, your concentration is nothing else other than Om Namah Shivaya. So your mind doesn't wander. That is where you become mantra drashta. And once you become mantra drashta and you start acquiring knowledge, that is when this type of revelations come, like Gandikota Subramanya Shastri has brought up this mantra. Okay, so that is how it gets related. So any one of us can practice any mantra. For example, if you want Sai Gayatri or Gayatri, it is a 24 letter mantra. So if you are able to chant it with all concentration, and automatically it becomes also meditation. You start chanting it, you become a siddha. So if it is a 24 letter word, you need to chant it 24 lakhs times. But it doesn't happen over a day. It takes time, maybe 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. But then you become a drashta, or you attain siddhi for that mantra. The minute you start attaining that siddhi with, and you start chanting, the atmosphere becomes purified because of the vibrations. That is where, all these things come up. So that is how, Gandikot Subramanya Shastri, because of the siddhi or the drashta that he has, he was able to get this mantra. This is from a different angle and a perspective.
Yeah, I have read it in
Or
Shiv
from
Puran. I read it in
Yeah,
Shiv Puran. It says that if you chant it, I don't recall the exact numbers, but if you chant it, say for 500,000 or 900,000 something, you get purity. Then if you chant it for 5 crore times, you get siddhi. And then there is another stage when you become ekatma. So is there any kind of a formula to understand like how many times you have to chant to get that? It sounds
No,
like that.
so
You
the
want to have a
basic,
very shortcut to mukti.
shortcut.
no, no,
Keep
the
chanting.
basic thing is the number of letters that are there in each mantra, and so many lakhs is the count to get the basic siddhi.
I think
So
just to put it, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, good. And
I
another,
think just to
good.
put it in another perspective, we say Aim Chatvari Vak Parimita Padani Tani Virubrahmana Ye Manishinaha Guha Trini Angani Nihitani Turyam Vacha Manushya Vadanti. The fourth form of sound is what we speak. Behind the speech, there are three forms of sound. This is what in Lalita Sahasranamam it comes as Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari. Vaikhari is the sound that you are hearing to, that you are speaking, that we hear to, right? Behind Vaikhari, there is Madhyama. Behind Madhyama, there is Pashyanti, which is actually Drashta. Pashyanti, Drashta. You can see the correlation. I'm only connecting dots, right? Behind Pashyanti is Para. So actually, Para is the vibration that is produced in the Atma. It gets converted into Pashyanti by the intellect, right? And the Pashyanti gets converted into Madhyama by the mind. Madhyama gets translated into Vaikhari by the vocal cords. It's scientific also, if you really see. Where is my thought voice coming from? From the movement of the vocal cords. Where are the vocal cords? How are they moving? Because of the peptide hormones secreted by the mind, by the brain. How are they secreted? From the thought in the mind. So behind this voice, there is thought in the mind, which is a vibration. Behind the thought, there is the intellect. Behind the intellect is the energy which is actually making all this happen, which is para, right? So by constantly chanting this sound, which is divine vibration, we go backwards. This is what I was thinking. That is the reason why Bhagwan used to insist that we don't chant Vedam by seeing a book. Swami used to never like it. You have to chant without seeing. The reason is as we close our eyes and keep chanting the Vedam without seeing, our attention now starts getting drawn to the sound, the vibration. So we start moving backwards into the mind, from mind into the intellect, hopefully. Once we go to the intellect, we start. That is why I think the word Pashyanti is used for the vibration at the intellectual level, because Pashyanti means seeing. So Drashta, I think, happens at that level, and para is the actual source of all energy, all vibration. So we slowly go back and finally merge. So Veda has come from there. What we are hearing is the present Vaikhari form of Veda. By practicing this Veda or mantra in the Vaikhari form, we can go backwards in the same way back to the para. Right?
I,
I
I
think this
am
was
so, it is so overwhelming to get even to get a glimpse of
right.
this knowledge.
So I think that's what that is. And Lalita Sahasranamam says all these forms are mother. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari are all forms of various names of Mother Lalita. So every form of vibration is an energy, right? So
And
this
can you
is
imagine we had a privilege of seeing such mantra
Veda
drashtas,
Purusha.
so
Yes,
many
so
in
many
one
of them.
gathering with Bhagwan. So as
Yeah.
I'm sure all of you have students of Mr. Kamadhani Garu here,
Kamadhan, yeah.
and it's fantastic. Do
We
you
are all
recognize
students.
anybody else there?
Don't know the names per se, but so many we can recognize. I don't know the names of each one of them. I think
He's,
Kuppa
he's
Bairagi
that
Shastri I
he's
saw
that
just now.
Shastri
Just now
Garu
I
here.
saw Kuppa Bairagi Shastri Garu. You
He
go to
was
the next
actually, I think, the man who used
this
to do
person,
Surya
who is
Namaskar.
there,
He was
who's
doing
there on
Surya
the
Namaskar, right?
right side corner. Yeah, and that man also was very common. Don't know the names, but
from another angle, from what Anil brother is telling, right? So only when you start going in inner and inner, then only you will be able to hear more the inner consciousness, what the consciousness tells, and that is where the knowledge comes from. The inner mind keeps telling you so many things, but you don't hear them. When we concentrate and do some either the chanting of the mantra, or you start meditating, or your mind is calm, you chant Veda, or you do some jabam of the mantra, that is when your mind becomes silent and will be able to hear to the self consciousness or the Atma, the inner Atma, which keeps telling you repeatedly, a lot of things that are, anytime you do a mistake, it tells, no, no, this is wrong, don't do this is the right thing. So the inner prompting that you say, or the inner consciousness, we'll be able to hear more and more clearly for the drashtas.
I think a beautiful connection just now I got, Bhagwan's grace. See, actually, if you see, Pashyanti is at the level of the intellect, right? What is coming between Pashyanti and Vaikhari? Madhyama, the mind. If we can still the mind, the Madhyama will vanish, and what we speak will be what we see, what we Pashyanti, what we see. That is the drashta, that becomes a mantra, right? In
Beautiful.
fact, I
Right,
think
right.
that is why it is called Madhyama. In fact, in I think Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is said, Vachalambanam Visheshanam Vikaro Namadheyaha. Means no expression, no articulation is perfect translation of the thought. Every articulation is a distortion of thought.
Distortion of
Every
thought. Wow.
Yeah, it's distortion of thought. You can never articulate in the Vaikari form the thought in its pristine purity. It's
Lovely.
a distortion of a thought, right?
Okay, let
So
me
this
ask a different
distortion is
question now.
happening because of the mind.
Okay, let me take you to a
So,
different question. People
Abhi,
always,
before you go
yes,
forward, I'd just like to tell one thing which
Abhi, just 1 second.
Swami kept mentioning.
okay,
Swami kept mentioning that mind is a bundle of desires, and each like a kerchief, and each thread or the desire that you remove, there is no mind. So at this point, it's very essential that we relate to that, where if there is no desire, also you become a drashta, because there's no mind. When there's no desire, there's no mind.
wow. Okay, let me ask you another. Thank you, Bhimeshwar, very nice perspective. There is another, query which comes, that is okay to learn. When Bhagwan says chant, we chant because we love him, we respect it, and we do it. But that's how the Ved Pathshalas and all that were not encouraged by people, because everybody has that priority issue in life. So nobody seems to understand the urgency of learning. What is the criticality of learning Ved? When you can live a life, a good life, so to say, without learning Ved. So why do you think Bhagwan has given so much of importance? How can common person, a common normal human being, who is hardworking, who is learning, who is going to colleges, working, uh, can get inspired to understand the urgency of learning Ved? Am I making any sense?
Yep.
Can you imagine Bhagwan avatar coming down and saying, "Learn, chant," and chant without books? So he is like on a fast track, creating an urgency for us, as if we don't learn, we are going to lose out on life something. And but in our day-to-day life, we are so trapped, we don't seem to get that kind of an uh, urgency within ourselves, that we could spare some time just to learn Ved and explore it. So let me open the floor for you. Sai sir, you can start.
I'll give an example. I will give an
Sure,
example
sure.
which Swami has quoted, where he said, if you want to keep the knife sharp for the use as a surgeon or whatever, or for cutting the vegetables or whatever, you have to keep on sharpening it, and you have to keep on sharpening it. And when does that happen? That happens through this act or the urgency of sadhana. The minute you start doing this, it will be ever ready for us to use it in best possible way that we want to use it. And if we do not use it and leave it, it will get rusted and it cannot be used to cut anything that we want.
So here you are sharpening your own self.
Yes.
And
own self and
what are you
intellect.
and what are you cutting?
Cutting the
What,
ties.
see, so I just gave you the example. So the okay, let me take another example where the minute you start chanting these mantras, or you start, you participate in bhajan and keep chanting bhajan, okay, or you chant Veda, what happens is automatically your mind is less disturbed and more turned inwards, based on what brother Anil has explained some time back. With that, we'll slowly start climbing, gradually towards the stage of the drashta, where you start, looking towards the inner sense and the atma, and you will be more clearer on the inner consciousness, what it says, and then you start reaping the benefits. Okay, and then the floor is open
Let me
now
open
for
it for
further
this. Yeah.
discussion on this.
Um, well, and I corroborate whatever Bhimeshwar Garu is saying. Now, Swami is giving us yet another technique for, for improving ourselves. Now, the vibration therapy is a established modality in the modern science, the modern medicine. Vibration therapy, how the mantras are, how different sounds actually help in calming your mind and having physiological effects on your body, the good effects of on your body. So Swami is giving you, you said, what is the urgency of chanting Vedas or learning Vedas? Swami is goading us and then guiding us to really learn it. He said, use the technique which is available. You don't require even to spend money to buy these medicines. It's just there. You just have to learn. And once you learn, it is there with you. So that leaves us actually, what's the purpose of chanting? What's the use of chanting itself? Chanting the Vedic mantras was, last time also we did touch upon this particular topic. It removes the stress, the depression, the anxiety. All that is found to actually get reduced by listening to these holy sounds of Vedic mantras. Enhances mental power of the body, and then achieves the deep relaxation in the body. I mean, these are the effects which are seen, which are now, which are established even from scientific point of view. So the chanting of Vedic mantras have a lot of beneficial effects on the body, on the mind, and leading on to the intellect, and then finally reaching the Lord. So Swami is saying, I mean, no wonder Swami is saying, why are you not utilizing it? It's just that you are not aware of this one. Be aware of this. Whether you are aware of not, start chanting, you will start experiencing the results.
The explanation which you have given, I agree for the chanting, but does it? It doesn't still inspire me to learn or study Ved. I can chant, but why should I study it?
Okay. So I
Yes,
think
Anil.
so. To answer why should we learn Ved, right? I think first and foremost we have to recapture what Bhagwan very often used to quote in most of the discourses: "Jintu nam narajanma durlabham." Right?
Yeah.
Among all the living species, to get the opportunity to be a human is it's a blessing that is bestowed on an individual, GV, right? This is what in Hitopadesha it is said: Ahara nidra bhaya maitunani
Samanya.
samanametat pashubhir naranam jnanam naranam adhikam visheshah jnanena
Nine.
sunyah pashubhis samanaha. That what it means is ahara, that's food; nidra, that is sleep; bhaya, that is fear; maithunani, that is reproduction, is common for all the living species, be it an amoeba to a human, right? But it's only the jnana which differentiates man from the rest of the species, differentiates a human from rest of the species. And if we really sit back and think, I was just thinking the other day, be it the latest and greatest advances in science, be it the AI, ML, we keep talking so high about artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, the genetics, the microbiome, and whatever be the advances in science, technology, right? And everything, whether it is economics, the space technology, what are we catering to really? Let's look at it. We are catering to only these four: ahara, food, whether it is agriculture, the food, nutrition science, agricultural science, and all the agri-economics that goes with it, right? Then nidra, sleep is nothing but the healthcare, right? The sleep cycles are the most central for all healthcare. Everyone, the sleep cycles get disrupted, it leads to a disease state. So the whole of sleep cycles are to do with the healthcare and the healthcare industry, associated industries, right? Bhaya, everything is bhaya oriented, like from life insurance to antivirus that we load in our computer to everything that we do, whether it is a weaponry, everything is bhaya. Bhaya drives the human society, right? And then rest is reproduction. Also, every science, be it the AML, be it the robotics, be it whatever, they give only these four. We are catering to only these four. Then where is it that we'll get this jnana from? If all the vidya, so-called vidya that we call, that we are doing in the present day life, is only going to cater to these four in a more refined manner. Maybe a animal is not experiencing this in a refined manner. We are experiencing it in a more refined manner, having a structure, the economics to run it, the whole of the fiscal systems to manage all this. But we are finally managing only these four, right? So where is the human going to get jnana from? The only answer for that is Shastra. Veda is the only answer for getting jnanam. So this
Right.
is where, in fact, in Taittiriya Upanishad, there's a beautiful description which Bhagwan once mentioned, gave in one of the Sammakos. Swami was speaking about Vijnanamaya Kosha. And that time he quoted Taittiriya Upanishad, and he quoted what he actually gave a beautiful way of trying to understand repetitively the statements that come in this Brahmananda Valli. In Taittiriya Upanishad, for Vijnanamaya Kosha, it comes as Tasya Shraddhair Vashiraha Rutam Dakshina Paksha Satyamuttara Paksha Yoga Atma Mahapucham Pratishtha Tadapyesha Sloko Bhavati. So for Vijnanamaya Kosha, right, to understand Vijnanamaya Kosha, we need to have Shraddha as our siras, right? Rutam and Satyam as the two wings, Yoga as our heart, and Mahat as the tail of this bird. And when these five are understood and conquered, you reach Vijnanamaya Kosha. Now, why did I come to Kosha? Actually, we have five koshas, right? So if we translate all that we are learning, the Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maitunani, they are only the Annamaya and Pranamaya kosha. Jnana relates to Manomaya and Vijnanamaya kosha, right? And finally, we reach the Anandamaya kosha. Okay, Manomaya kosha. How do we understand Manomaya kosha? Again, same Taittiriya Upanishad says, Anandavalli says, Tasya yajure vashiraha Rugdakshida pakshaha Samottara pakshaha Adesha atma Atharvangirasa pucham pratishtha. Clearly it tells us without Veda, there is no way you can enter the Manomaya Kosha. Forget understanding and experiencing. You can't even enter the Manomaya Kosha without having Tasya Yajure Vashiraha. Yajus is the Siras. That
I
Dugdaksheda
think that is
Pakshaha.
where you're talking about that avidya part of it, right? That whole
Yeah.
worldly knowledge is called avidya. So whatever
Yeah,
we are
that's
learning,
another way of saying the whole of the Ahara Nidra Bhaya Maitunani is avidya. What gives us the jnana is vidya, actual vidya. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye, that Swami used to quote very often from Bhagavad Gita, is actually
but,
this vidya, right?
but
So,
isn't it?
and Vedamata is
Wait,
clearly telling us that you
yes.
need to have this. I want to repeat this once again.
Okay.
Tasya yajure vashiraha rutam dakshina pakshaha satya, sorry, Rugdakshina
Rugdakshina Paksha. Samottara Paksha. Samaveda is that.
Adesha Atma Atharvangirasa Pucham Pratishta Tadapyesha Sloko Bhavati. Then you go into Manomaya Kosha. So why is Veda required? Veda is required, and all four Vedas are required for the sake of understanding and getting into the level of mind. Right?
See,
Which leads us to
I'm
Gnana.
enjoying it. I hope people are also getting that urgency of it, that without Ved, we cannot get out of our Annamaya Kosha or
Okay.
the
Okay.
physicality of life. So we have to go beyond it. But now for helping the
Okay,
people,
another way of putting it, as I was just now thinking, another thought that came is, see, Veda also actually talks of Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, Swadhyayan, Pramadaha, right? All that Matrudevo, Bhava, Pitru means what? Actually, it is something like I am living in India, right? Unless I know the taxation rules of this country, unless I know the rules and regulations of this traffic here, I cannot live here, right? So if this world belongs to Bhagwan, right? He is the Ishvara to this world. We need to know the rules of this world to live in this world. And how will we get to know the rules of this world?
yes, hold
Inna,
on. That is where
simple.
I was trying to bring in the next flavor of it, and people can help me out. They are, when you look at actions which we have to perform in a normal way. Now, you all have given us a glimpse into why Vedas are important, why Veda chanting should be done, makes sense. But how do you integrate into our life? Everybody is so struggling to meet their ends, and everybody is tied up with so many responsibilities, so to say. Then how does Ved fit into this equation? Let me show you something, a chart I made, a small types of actions which we undertake, right? Uh, I'm sure people can explain that. ShivShankar Sai sir, you can take a dig on it. Nitya karma, Namitya karma, and Kamya karma, as they say.
I think.
And
Or Anil can do
Anil,
a good
okay.
job of that.
So basically, if you
Right.
can quickly
A
take us
Karma
through this,
Yogi.
Yeah. No,
and
not like that. But,
Ved
this is
fit in here.
actually in our Dharma Shastra, this is what is given, that karma, all karma can be divided into these three: the Nitya karma, Naimitika karma, and Kamya karma. Right? Kamya karma are like the things that we do out of a desire. We are desirous of the fruit of their action, and we perform an action, and that becomes Kamya karma. If we have to give popular examples like the Putra Kameshti Yaga done by Dashratha, he did it with a particular purpose, right? So any karma done with a particular purpose, for the result of that karma is
Or we
becomes
do
a
our,
kamya.
or we do our, what is vratams? We do
Vratams,
vratams,
Satyanarayana Vratam and all that. Then the
Passing the examination by the students.
yeah,
passing exam.
the
Getting
number of
visa Balaji in Hyderabad.
the number of pradakshinas that we do around Vinayaka for the sake of passing the exams, right? So all these things are the kamya karma,
Kamya
right?
karma.
Naimitika karma are the ones which are assigned to an individual based on their ashrama, means their stage of life.
Stage of life.
So, yeah. So even the most easiest example is the Taddina Viseno, means the yearly once, the puja that we perform to our Pitru Devatas, right? Is actually a Naimitika karma, means which we have to do. It's our duty, right? And finally comes the Nitya karma. And Nitya karma is all our Bhagwan, in fact, in Satyasai organizations and for especially students in the hostel, Swami has actually taught us Nitya karma. The Omkara, Suprabhata, and night time we do the prayer, night prayer, all these Nitya karma. And for persons whom Swami had performed Upanayinam, Swami used to say Gayatri Japam or Sandhya Vandanam is compulsory. So this is Nitya Karma. And
So
actually,
when,
really seeing,
yeah,
only Nitya Karma is moksha hetu. We have to understand this. Nitya Karma alone is moksha hetu. Only Nitya Karma leads us to liberation. The other two karmas, though performed, they give us worldly happiness, success in this present day mundane life, but they don't lead to liberation. It is a nitya karma which leads us to liberation. And see, Bhagwan in his mercy actually created nitya karma as hostel routine and made it a part of every student's life. No, what
So
love this is! Really, this is
let
amazing
me,
love.
yeah,
He didn't give too
absolutely
much
right.
importance to
That's
life,
not
Nikucha and
stoicism.
Kamya.
That is the whole
Right?
system he creates, in
System
which
is
you
nitya karma.
you just automatically follow it.
One
Yashir
step
Garu,
further.
how will you look at Ved into these three categories? Learning of Veda. Is it
Maybe just
Samaya, Nitya, Namitika, or Nitya? Or all three?
It
no,
is actually all three.
Yeah.
Sir is saying something.
Our
ShivShankar Sai
Bhimeshwar
sir.
sir is
no.
quite
I
tremendous.
just only wanted to add to the earlier point where he says it's Swami has made that hostel routine as a nitya karma, spiritualizing every aspect of it. No, Swami has given not only to the students, for everyone, for all the
Yeah,
devotees,
correct,
for
correct.
everyone. He says, whatever you do, the daily routine itself is spiritualized. Work is transformed into worship. So with that bhavam, if you do it, that itself goes. So every act which you do need not be only for a specific act of, the Putrakameshti or whatever which you were mentioning earlier. Every act which we do has to be transformed into a divine act, a divine karma. And then you said the Vedas, another just a viewpoint which I would like to just give to, or to everyone is that when we buy a TV or washing machine, along with the machine we get what's called a manual. A manual which gives you the details, and then you say, this button does these functions. The more you get familiar with that, the more complex is the machine, the more you should become familiar with the manual, how to operate that machine. And Veda is like a manual, the life manual. The manual, once you know what you're supposed to do, the more you know Vedas, the more you are familiar with the details which are present in the Vedas, which are explained in the Vedas. What karmas are to be, there are Nishidha karmas, something which should be shunned, should not be performed. There's something which you're supposed to do something, you're not supposed to do something. These are karmas, various actions which are calculated. All these are explained clearly in Vedas. So it's a life manual. And that's the reason why Swami used to insist that students should learn Vedas, so that at that age possibly they may not understand the full import of that, but later on, after they settle down in their life, all these things become absolutely clear, because when they are young and sharp, immediately you catch all these mantras, and then you can ruminate on the meaning of these things. So it's a life manual. Vedas is a life manual. Saira.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Very nicely put. Bhimeshwar Garu, your input.
Sure. So there's something that we do as part of Nitya Karma that purifies us. Like let me take some very very simple examples. We clean our house every day. We sweep and remove the dust. Okay, that is one thing. We take bath every day. So in this way, we can relate to Nitya Karma. So, for example, so unless we are pure and clean, you know, and with the clean surroundings, which will set the dais or the stage for us to proceed further. So that is where I can relate to Nitya Karma. In today's world, for example, if we need to be healthy, we need to do some Nitya Karma, which was earlier difficult. Anybody you ask, everybody knows that how do you keep yourself, or how do you rise the Kundalini? Okay, how do you do pranayama? What is the use of performing yoga to keep yourself healthy? So as part of the yoga, you do regular breathing that leads to pranayama. And when you do pranayama as part of yoga, the Kundalini Shakti rises from each chakra. and then comes up to Sahasrara, and then you attain the knowledge. So this is all part of the Nitya Karma. So that is all difficult and not available for everybody, because like Veda has to be learned Mukataha, the yoga also has to be learned under a guru guidance, so that we are able to achieve what we want, to being healthy, and and basically being healthy to serve the society. That is our goal. So as part of this, in today's world, what we need to do to keep ourselves healthy, we have 8 mantras, which if we are able to chant based on 9 times or 11 times or 27 times or 108 times each of them, it cleans the chakras and keeps us fit to be healthy. And this has been proved in several ways, where I've seen one person has had a fall and he had to be hospitalized, and he reads these chakras, and when he was doing this, the recovery was extremely fast. And there are situations where you don't even need medication when you do this, and that was what the yogas or the the seers used to do earlier, to keep their body fit to serve the society. So let us go to those mantras so that we are aware what those mantras are for each of the chakras, so that the minute you chant those, you clear and you clean the chakras on a daily basis to keep yourself healthy.
Okay. These are the chakra
So the
cleansing.
first, yeah. So the first mantra is Om mooladharam bujarudhayai Namaha. So this is the first chakra. The minute you chant this over a certain number of times, like I mentioned earlier, it cleans the first chakra. The second chakra is Aum Sri Swadhishthanaam bujagadayai Namaha. This is the second chakra. Coming to the third one, Aum Sri Manipuraabja nilayayai Namaha. This is the navel. And anything that you have with the abdomen, all the disease will be cured when you keep this clean. Then coming to the fourth one, Aum Sri Anaahataabja nilayayai Namaha. This is the heart. Suppose you have any heart problems, it removes all the heart problems, and the breathing problems when you chant this mantra, because it keeps this nadi or this chakra clean. Then Sri Vishudhi Chakra nilayayai Namaha. This is at the throat, where all the, the ear, nose, throat, ENT problems are all removed when you chant this, and when this chakra is clean. Aum Sri Vishudhi Chakra nilayayai Namaha. Then the next one is the Aajna Chakraabja nilayayai Namaha. This is the one which is at the third eye place.
Eyebrows. Center of eyebrows.
Yes, center of the eyebrows. So that chakra gets cleaned when you chant this. The next one is Sahstradala padmasthayai Namaha. So this is at the 1,000-petal leaf at the center of the head, where Swami used to tell that, we should sit straight, and if a nail is driven, you should come down straight. Swami used to tell us. So that way, you should sit straight. So that way, all the nadis are cleared. The last mantra is Aum Sri Asthi samsthitayai Namaha. So this applies to all the bones or the skeleton of the body. So if you have, say for example, anything to do with arthritis, then you chant this, Asthi samsthitayai Namaha, all the problems will be removed. But important thing that you should understand is, as part of Nitya Karma, we need to chant all the 8 mantras specific number of times every day, and you will see the results coming up, that you don't go to hospital, you don't get ill, you don't get sick, because you're keeping yourself clean as part of Nitya Karma. But beyond this, if you're already sick, for example, you have arthritis, then you need to do additional one time, the same number of times, Asthi samsthitayai Namaha, Aum Sri Asthi samsthitayai Namaha, so that the arthritis problem will go. This is part of the wish-fulfilling karma that Anil sir was mentioning, Anil brother was mentioning.
So, Bhim sir, let me summarize it if I've understood it correctly. What you're saying is that suppose we do a mala that 108 times.
Right.
So we have to do 108 times all the 8.
Correct.
That's our Nitya Karma.
Correct.
And then if we want to do something for a specific issue, something like you said, arthritis, so then
Right.
we do the number 8, Om Sri Asthi Samsthitayai Namaha. That also
Another
100.
108 times. Correct.
Okay, so that would work. Then we'll be curing ours fully. Okay.
You will see, if you do it sincerely, you will see the results within a month or 2 max, and the doctor also would be surprised. Let me tell you.
So once in a day we have to do this, right?
Right.
Okay, brilliant. If you don't mind, I think it'll be nice if you can chant one line each so that people can get a phonetics also. I can repeat after you if you please. That will be lovely.
Sure. Om Sri mooladharam bujarudhayai Namaha.
Om Sri Mooladharam Bujarudhayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Swadhishthanaam bujagadayai Namaha.
Om Sri Swadhishthanaam bujagadayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Manipuraabja nilayayai Namaha.
Om Sri Manipuraabja nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Anaahataabja nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Anaahataabja nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Vishudhi Chakra nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Vishudhi Chakra nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Aajna Chakraabja nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Aajna Chakraabja nilayayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Sahstradal padmasthayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Sahstradal padmasthayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Asthi samsthitayai Namaha.
Aum Sri Asthi samsthitayai Namaha.
Right.
One
Sorry.
connect in this.
Yes,
As we are chanting this, you know what we are actually acknowledging? That the divine is running this body, and slowly, I think, as we keep chanting, it leads us to the jnana that I am nobody, that everything is being done by Bhagwan. Because at every chakra, if we are saying Mother, the Shakti, the divine force is resident and it's managing, then we are finally recognizing the truth that only He is running this system called the body, right? I think slowly as we keep repeating this, Nitya Karma is that is why Moksha Hetu. I think we'll slowly reach a point where we realize that we are not the doers. And so
yes.
beautiful
It
it
is
is,
so
really.
amazing.
Right. Right.
So
Our
amazing, really amazing.
spiritual so intertwined with our life. Amazing.
Amazing, it's really.
And
So
this is
beautiful.
these are all from Lalita Sahasranama.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sir, panelists, please, there are some questions coming in, and I would like to entertain them right now because they are relevant here. First and foremost, they're asking, is it 108 minimum or can it be less?
It can be less also, but you will start seeing immediate results if you start doing 108 times. But on the days that you are busy and you are not able to do, but you should do at least minimum 3 to 9 times or 11 times or 27 times, whatever is possible.
Okay, so basically it is like an odd number you can choose. 108
Yeah,
is
you can choose.
advisable, but you can choose your own numbers and do that way. Okay.
Right.
There is another one. I think it's a very good question by Brother Srinivas here. He's asking, can anybody explain if Kamya Karma done for a specific desire be offered to Swami as Ishwararpanam when there is a clearly an element of selfish desire? That is so sweet of him. So because you're doing Kamya Karma for for a desire, can you offer that to God? What do you say? Sai sir?
Yeah.
The intent is
Now,
important.
again,
If you do something selflessly, anything can be offered. So it should be selfless. Then only that will
but
be
he's saying
applicable,
it's a
not
selfish one.
otherwise.
He says it's personal one.
Yeah.
That's what the question, as I
No,
understand.
so that is where it's that is where it starts. But when he starts doing it, when he starts getting the results, then he would not be selfish anymore. So that is the gradient, the growth as
Yeah,
you
it's a
progress
journey.
further. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's, Sai sir, your view.
That's a good viewpoint. My viewpoint is like this. So if I'll try to rephrase the question as I understand. He says that you are desirous of something and you're doing that, but you are saying Ishwar Arpanamastu. Isn't that? Can you flash the question again?
Yeah.
Can you flash
He's
the question
saying,
again?
yeah, correct. He's saying the same thing. Yeah.
Done for a specific desire be offered to Swami as Ishwar Arpanam. And there is when there is a clearly an element of selfish desire. So the votary or the person who is doing this one has a desire, a selfish desire. Maybe he wants something, he wants money, he wants health, whatever. And then can that be done as Ishwar Arpanam? And you pray for that one and say that Swami, I am doing for this one. I would say, why not? Why not? Because finally, uh, everything, what you are thinking as your selfish one, you are nothing but the him only, no? So, in fact, if you see Chamakam, the votary prays for
Everything.
350 plus desires. I want good bones. I want good, not good health, good bones, good muscles, and then I want good. I mean wealth. I want cattle. I want every possible materialistic desire which you can ever think of. Even a stark atheist can ever think of it. He goes even much beyond that. I want blessings for 7 generation up and 7 generation down. So it's not only he for himself, for everything. So he asks for everything. And then the Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam, he says, why not? Why not? Whom else you can ask for? Only he can give. Only the God can give. So you want utter materialistic pleasure? Absolutely, yes. But what Baba says is that do it within that nashrayo niyamam vina, within the boundaries of allowed thing. You are allowed to enjoy the pleasures of life, but within the boundaries.
What is the
That's
term
what
called?
the entire Hindu philosophy, Hindu dharma itself says that everything you can enjoy because this is a creation of the Lord Himself. So there's nothing which is that it's mine and in this one. Yes, you start with the selfish desire as Bhimeshwar Garu has put it. Yes, you start with that, but that can definitely be offered to him because only he can give you that, even that. But then what he says is, don't be confined by this. I can give you much, much more, which is 100 times more, 1,000 times more, 10 to the power 20 times much more than this. What you're asking is only one Manusha Ananda, but I can give you much, much more than that. That's my take on it.
Sir, I
This is
recall
where this is
a
where
small discussion some long time back. Swami was mentioned. Somebody had asked Bhagwan same similar question. Now it comes to me that Swami, people are it's such a bad thing that people are asking you for like Swami, give me money, give me car, and all that. Swami said, why it's bad? At least they're asking, no, they're thinking of me. So there has to be some starting point somewhere. So even if that starting point is asking for wealth, asking for anything, that is a starting point. At least the person has approached me. He has come to me. He is talking about me. He is remembering me. That's enough. Chala.
When
So
the
I
no, this
now
is
I
where no, actually Swami answered this during earlier times. I remember in many speeches Swami answered this. Swami said when a drop of dirty dirt gets into an ocean, what happens to the drop? Right? It becomes the ocean. So as you keep offering even a selfish desire, when we say Ishwararpanam, it becomes divine because divine is so enormous purity, nothing can contaminate that divinity, right? So Swami is to tell us very
So
often, offer your everything to me. Don't have any restrictions of this is good, that is bad. Offer everything to me, because Bhagwan can never be tarnished, right? He is the ocean of purity. So there's nothing self. As we keep offering, saying Ishwararpanam, it leads us to us becoming more and more purer and purer and purer. As we go closer to the fire, we continue to burn and become purer, right? So
Now,
the going
so I
closer
hope,
and saying Ishwararpanam
So,
is what is required.
so let
I hope Brother Srinivas got the answer that, brother,
so let me
feel
take
free
let
to
me
ask.
take so let me take one more example. Let me take one more example. So here, the minute you say you are selfish and then you ask for something, so as long as you ask for something and keep it to yourself, then you are selfish. But the minute you get the thought that this should be offered, right, you become selfless. So that is the point that we should understand. He has got a thought, initially selfishness, because he's got a desire and he started. But the minute he said that, yes, I want to offer it to the Lord without having that mamakara, he wants to offer it. That is where the selfishness gets converted to selflessness.
This is where I think I will recall one experience quickly, though, right? And this happened in my 12th standard. You know, that age we get varied thoughts, and Bhagwan was in Vrindavan, and I was not very happy with my own thoughts. So I was not showing myself to Bhagwan, but having Bhagwan's darshan. Means hiding behind number of other boys and looking from one corner, not wanting Bhagwan to see, but I was having darshan, and Bhagwan was actually sitting in the old bhajan hall, right? And from there he saw and he said, "Atlaun Naura, how are you?" I said, "Swami, fine," without even moving forward, because I knew I'd be getting sound thrashing, right? Because Swami knows everything. We know that, right? So Bhagwan said, "No, no, no, I know, bumps and jumps, bumps and jumps," right? He used to say this very often. It's so nostalgic when we recall that also, right? Bumps and jumps, bumps and jumps. Then naturally, what can we say to Bhagwan? We became silent. Then Sami was having kachif right on the throne, this seat. Sami took out the kerchief and he said, "Your mind is as clean and white as this kerchief." I got tremendous confidence. My God, Swami is now, it's not a blasting session. I'm fine. So went ahead. Then Bhagavan said, Swami used to have pan at that time. This was in my 12th standard, right? 1980. Swami used to have pan. Swami wiped pan and he said, "What happened to this?" Swami, everything, Bhagavan answers. Swami said, "See, the pan, the maraka, the mark of pan has come on the kerchief. Why has it come? Because I used the kerchief." So even your mind becomes impure because you use it, right? And therefore, what do you do to clean a dirty cloth? You give it to a dhobi. I am your dhobira. నాకు ఇచ్చేసే నీ మైండ్ నేను ప్యూరిఫై చేసి నీకు ఇస్తాను, right? That is the love of Bhagavan. You give it to him. There's nothing like selfish, not selfish, dirty. Everything is only our imagination. You give it to him. मय्येव मनाधस्त्वा मयि बुद्धिं निवेशयः निवशिष्यसि मय्येव अथ ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः. That's all it is. Everything can be offered to him. Everything.
He's asking for chanting Vedas.
Your voice is not audible, Abhi.
Okay. There's another question here where the brother is saying, is Veda prescribing the food habits, being vegetarian, for one who would pursue on Veda sadhana? So that means, in a nutshell, is being vegetarian a prerequisite for learning Veda? Anybody? A very technical question.
Yes, I mean, because
There's
vegetarian food gives
one
you.
statement.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just remembered. So that's why Yash Shuchih Prayato Bhutva Juhyadajyamanvaham Shriyah Panchadasaschancha Sri Kamas Tatatam Japet. In Sri Suktam, one word comes, which I don't know whether you can correlate it here. Yash Shuchih Prayato Bhutva. Shuchi. Vedamata insists on Shuchi being a prerequisite for chanting or repeating the mantra.
So he'll say non-vegetarian also is, he will say, he will clean it and eat. So it's the suchi.
No, no, here,
The suchi,
I
which
don't
is
know.
meaning, I mean, suchi of the bahya as well as the anta suchi.
Mantra.
Anta suchi
Correct.
also is this. And
So if a non-vegetarian can maintain Bahya and Antarshuchi, right? Means can control his mind, which is little more difficult. But it is not that it cannot be done. That's why I think, I don't know, the answer that I'm getting is Bhagwan said everybody can chant Vedam, right? He said the foreigners are chanting. If you remember, Swami used to call one a boy, Islam boy, and ask him to chant
Iranian,
Vedam,
Iranian.
and Iranian, right? And he used to call Americans and make them chant Vedam. And Swami used to very proudly say, see, they are also chanting. Everybody should learn Vedam. And Vedam is the birthright of every human being. So Swami has clearly answered vegetarian, non-vegetarian has got nothing to do, but Shuchi is essential,
But
right?
sir, my
So
humble
therefore,
thinking is what
basically, the vegetarian
Helps
food
in
helps you to have that both bahya and antasuchi. The
Shuchi
animal
easily.
instincts are lessened by not having it.
Correct.
Are lessened, I would say. Not that only vegetarians don't have the animal instincts, but then they are
Correct.
lessened.
But at the same time, I think we should also recall in one of the discourses, Bhagwan very categorically told all my devotees
Absolutely.
should not smoke, should not drink, should not eat non-vegetarian. Swami
Swami
also
wanted
said.
that promise from voice.
Swami wanted that promise. So we should
should remember.
remember that while the answer for this is that Swami has said it is open for everyone, it is birthright of every human being. So we have to balance both and take the answer.
So what I hear, what I recall is that when I understand from Bhagwan's style work, in many examples, he has not put preconditions for anything. He will give you a guideline, but then he'll say start. And my experience says, the more closer you go to God, the more and more you think about divine, automatically your habit starts changing. The negativity drops. So even if you are, drinking and chanting Ved, eating non-vegetarian and chanting Ved, ultimately the Veda impact will happen if you sincerely do it with keeping this protocol in mind that let me wash, take bath, and then chant. And all of that, if you maintain, then it will, I think, slowly, it just takes over. What do you say, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, but also best example is anything before you eat, right? Tell Brahmaharpanam. That is one best example.
Yeah, that's also part of the same thing, right? Purifying.
Yeah, Nitya Karma.
Yeah, Nitya Karma. Wonderful. Okay, and there is there is another certain same clarification. 108 times or anything less, choose. It should be an odd number. Okay, one. Bhimeshwar Garu, is there any mantra for mental disorder? In that chakra, can you
So
identify
so
any
so
mantra, or any mantra for
the
that matter for mental disorder?
Sahasradala Padmasthayai Namaha.
Okay, that's Sahasrara one. Okay.
Sahasradala Padmasthayai Namaha. Aum Sri Sahasradala Padmasthayai Namaha.
So, brother, I hope you got it. So, you can chant, say, 108 times if you are taking, or 21 times, whatever. You do all the eight, and then you do that particular one for the seventh one, same time again. So, that should take care of your head. Thank you. Uh, and okay, I think we got the questions. Okay, let's move forward. Uh, Sir, just to clarify, understand quickly that we have four Vedas, but we used to call it Veda Trayi before it was three and then it became four. Can you give us a quick idea about how these Vedas got classified? Do each Veda represent something specific or certain specific stream of knowledge? How do we how do we understand the classification of these four Vedas.
Anil, would you like to take this?
Sir, you take after you, sir.
Yeah. We did mention the last time, and then we have the four Vedas, and then this Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and then Atharva Veda, and then also mentioned what each of these Vedas contains, and how each Veda in itself is again further divided into four parts. Each Veda has the mantra part, the suktas or mantra part, and then the Brahmana part, the Aranyakas, and then Upanishad. Each Veda is divided into this, and there are four Vedas, and then there the three Vedas, the main ones, and then Atharva Veda as a part which is an extended portion of the three Vedas only, so Trayi Veda. We did mention, we did have the discussion last time, and we also mentioned that Rig Veda consists of the hymns of wisdom called, the suktas or mantras composed by the riks, the rik, which
Rick
actually
form,
is the verse which is there
verse
in
form.
the Rig Veda. That's why it's called the Rig Veda, addressed to different gods and devas. The Yajur Veda is contains the text of sacrificial rites or yajus, the prayers and invocations applicable to the consecration of the all the puja materials and how the worship is to be performed. That's what is explained in the Yajur Veda. And then you have the two parts in the Yajur Veda, the Krishna Yajur Veda and then Shukla Yajur Veda. We did discuss that one also. Then in the Samaveda, which is the text of harmonious, joyful chants of samas to be sung in certain meter or melody. So a recast of the Rig Veda broken up into parts, arranged for the purpose of being chanted in various Vedic, styles. So Rig, Yajur, Sama Vedas, and an Atharva Veda contains the mystical formulas and chants to be used for certain ceremonies, like the birth, marriages, funeral, or the various types of mantras are also there in this Atharva Veda. It also has hymns to counteract the effects of the karmic effects. So all that is there. So all the various Vedas, all these four Vedas contain what is required for a person to live happily in this world and hereafter. Not only in this world, but hereafter. The Upanishadic parts of the each Veda tells you how you go beyond that. That Vedanta Sara is given in the Upanishads. But Vedas by themselves, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, each of them concentrating one or two aspects of the life. So this is what we had discussed last time. Does that answer?
Well, Anil, if you want to add something
Yeah,
here. Okay.
yeah. So it's actually Bhagavan Vedavyas had only rearranged or
Categorized.
categorized the vibrations or the knowledge that was known till then into segments as Yajus, all Yajus put together, as Yajur Veda, all Riks put together, Rig Veda, all Samas put together. Each of them are a particular meter way of the vibrations or the mantras, right? As Sama Veda. And Atharva Veda, it's not that it has been added later. I see, because no, this vision at a later point of time all comes from the perspective that someone has written. And there's no written here. It's apaurushaya. It's already there, right? So this concept of having got added has come from the Western way of looking at the history of the world. So for Vedas, I don't think we should adopt that way of thinking at all. The Atharva Veda was also created, but because Atharva Veda deals more with the mundane or the worldly level joys or the performance of duties here, right? The mantras associated with it. The other three deal with the jnana part predominantly. So it is called as Trayi. Trayi word has come because these three Vedas are the ones which lead you to the Jnana. Atharva Veda is predominantly on the mundane, the knowledge that is there is for the worldly life. All the mantras that we require for worldly life are and everything to do with the machine, the weaponry, and all of that is there in the Atharva Veda. That is why this is like got added at a later point of time. This is the Western thinking that's got into our head, and therefore we sequence the. There's no way of sequencing Vedas when they're Apurushayas. They're already existing. They'll continue to exist, right?
Okay, one more question has come is that, because if you look at it, it takes time even to chant. It takes time to even study. It is so much of involvement, if I may put it in a softer way, to learn and practice the Ved. Can Veda itself be called as sadhana? Can chanting itself be considered as spiritual activity or as sadhana for self actualization or whatever you want to call it?
Yes, certainly. We discussed this, right? In the Nada Yoga, you go backwards from Vaikari to Madhyama, Madhyama to Pashyanti, Pashyanti to Para, right? This is one way of looking at it, perspective. The other perspective is it is seva. Actually, chanting Veda is itself a seva. The reason is by chanting, we know it purifies us, we become healthy, and as Bhimeshwar Sharma brother was saying, we become healthy so that we can serve the society, right? We purify the atmosphere, and therefore everyone living around are helped or served. Apart from that, if you really see the Namakam, the Rudram that Bhagwan has actually asked us to all learn and chant daily, right? We clearly, especially in the 10th Anuvakam, the prayer is for the whole community. I think this is one thing that all of us have to constantly understand. Veda Mata always tells us to pray for everyone, including our Gayatri. Om Bhurbhuvassuvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. The Gayatri, which we are supposed to do Trisandhya Japa, right? There we are praying for Dhiyo Yo not Mama Prachodayat. Dhiyo Yo Naha. Naha stands for us. Please illuminate our intellect, not my intellect, right? So even the Gayatri that we are doing, which we consider as a Nitya Karma, we are doing it as a service. We are praying for everyone, right? So where is and where am I in Rudram? What do we say? That drape, andhasaspate, that is the Nila Lohita, that full Anuvaka. If I take a specific line, Yatha Nashyama Sadvipade, Chatushpade, Vishwam Pushtam Grame, Asmin Anaturam, Asmin Grame. In my locality can mean my small village or my small community, or it can mean my whole city, it can mean my whole country, it can mean my whole world, it can mean by the whole universe. It is how I define my, right? So, Asmin Grame, Dvipade Chatushpade. I am not only praying for Dvipada, which is humans, I am also praying for Chatushpada, which means all the living,
Four-legged animal.
all four-legged animals. Dvipada also means birds, right? Dvipade Chatushpade, I am praying for everything, every living being in this universe, for them to be
Vipada is
safe.
more like
In fact,
Vipada is birds or Vipada also means animal.
Dvipada is humans actually.
Oh,
Vipada is humans.
Vipada. Vipada.
Dvipada,
Two legs.
it
ones
is
Two
who are
legs.
on two
Vipada
legs.
because I was reading
Dvipada,
Vipada.
Chatushpada is four pada, right? We are praying for everyone. And therefore, actually, one way I call this is it's an anti-terrorist prayer. We ensure that there is no terrorist attack, there is no Rudra Rupa. In fact, what is Rudram all about, We constantly pray and say, Oh Lord, keep your Rudra Rupa away from us and come with the Shiva Rupa towards us. let your Shiva aspect be with us. In fact, Swami explained this beautifully once. Swami said, unless you have a storm in the sea, you will not have rain on the land. Unless there is Rudra, you will not have Shiva. Unless
There's
there
no
is
Bhadra.
Ghora, you will not have Aghora. Unless there is light, you cannot have darkness. Both have to exist, but we have to pray to Lord to keep the Rudra aspect away from us, right? Where the community of human beings are living, oh Lord, please keep your storm away from us. Let the storm be where it's supposed to be. Let the Shiva, that the actual timely rain, be where we are living. This is what is Rudram prayer all about, right? So therefore, whom are we praying for? It is a seva, right? It is not just a selfish way of sitting in one place and doing something. It's a seva. Rudram chanting is a seva. That is the reason Swami said everyone should learn. The reason is, unless we do this, therefore the Rudra aspects all around us will move away from us, and Shiva aspects will come and ensure that there is subhiksha and ananda for all the humanity. The whole purpose of that is this, the prayer is this, and this is what we see everywhere across Vedam. Everywhere it is our prayer is always for us. It's never for me.
Beautiful.
So Vedam chanting, therefore, I strongly feel is seva in itself. You don't need to necessarily go out and do a physical seva, right?
See, okay, when we talk about because Bhagwan really opened this Veda for all strata of people, and there are still in some pockets who claim that only certain class of people should learn Ved. But is there any protocol to learn? Now, since we have established that anybody and everybody is free to learn Veda and must explore, is there any protocol of chanting Ved?
Is
Is
there?
there
Is there any
any protocol like
protocol?
prerequisites of chanting Vedas or practicing Ved?
The voice is breaking.
So, I said, is there any protocol or prerequisite of chanting Ved?
Um, I'll just take it immediately. The prerequisite, Swami says, is only purity of the heart and your devotion. That's all it is. Once you have that, everything else is taken care. The purity that, it is going to help, that the faith that it has an effect, and the purity that we really want to do that. If you have that, automatically it will yield results. Then apart from that, the yoga, I mean, Veda itself says that you need to have suchi, as Brother Anil mentioned earlier, that there is a certain code of conduct which is put so that you can concentrate your mind better while chanting, so that you get connected to the Lord. So the suchi, or the place where you're sitting, the bodily cleanliness, the mental cleanliness is definitely as a prerequisite, could be considered as a prerequisite for chanting Vedas. But otherwise, he says, Swami tells that any place, anywhere, chanting of the Lord's name, you don't require any place. And in fact, the most difficult, trying times, you are somewhere which is, far away from your puja room. So definitely,
Yeah. In
you
fact,
have
the
that
very
liberty.
word, in fact, the very word, I'll just add one point here. In fact, the very word mantra means mananat trayate iti mantram. Vedic mantras we say, right? What is mananat trayate? You keep chanting them, it will liberate you. So it didn't say you chant in the puja room in the morning from 5 to 6. Then only you will be trayate. It didn't say that, right? Mananat trayate, it said that's all. So wherever and everywhere you can chant. But as sir also just now mentioned, suchi is needed so that we can concentrate. That's all. But
There
So
is a
one
mantra, the
more
very word
from a
mantra means
different perspective. It is said that if you chant Rudram every day, you will not have any trouble. You will be protected by Lord, and He will take care of you.
yeah,
yes.
actually, there's a beautiful poem. I think I shared that with you, Abhi. Rudradhyayi. Can you just
Oh
Slash.
yeah. Okay.
flash it for everyone's benefit. रुद्राध्यायी यत्र वासः रुद्राध्यायी वासे यत्र और यत्र वासः.
Yes, here it is.
या रुद्राध्यायी वासेद्यत्र ग्रामे वा नगरेऽपि वाचा न तत्र क्षुप्तिपासाद्य दुर्भिक्षव्याध्योऽपि च. Means what it means is Rudradhyayi, one who is chanting the Rudram, where he lives, whether it is Grama or Nagara, right? There, na tatra, there will not be kshuptipasa, means the hunger, adya, similar famine, durbhiksha, famine, vyadhi, disease. None of these will be there where a Rudradhyayi lives. So therefore, it's very clear a Rudradhyayi is doing service to society and not to only himself.
Wow. So wherever there is a Rudra, the one who chants Rudra recides, these things will
Rudra
not happen.
Adhyayi, Rudra, one who repeats or chants Rudra
Chants
Adhyayi,
Rudra.
one who.
There is prosperity in that community, to put it in simple terms.
Okay, there's another one final question. There are many ways of chanting Rudra, Ved. So, in broadly speaking, you have the northern style and the southern style of chanting. Then, in each one, there are so many variations of it. So, how do we understand which is better, which is more prescribed than other? Is there any comparison? What is the norm to be followed in that?
I'll quickly add one point here, and after that, over to my elder brothers. They say Rudram is Shruti, sorry, Veda is Shruti. Shruti means that which you learn through hearing. So it is Guru Mukhatah, whatever one learns. For him or her, that is good enough. While there will be better ways to improve constantly, it is best to follow what is being taught by the Guru, the teacher.
Okay, hi sir.
That's my take.
Okay.
Yeah, there are different recensions which are available, South Indian recension and then North Indian recension of chanting Vedic mantras. And of course, each one is slightly different. And as brother mentioned it, it is to be learned from your guru, from the person who teaches you. Okay, so whatever is taught is the correct version for you. So there's nothing like a South Indian version better than the North Indian version or vice versa. So we need not have any such, because again, God's names are like that. You may like something, others may like some other thing. He has got a variety of names. Whichever you want, you can take it. That way it is. So what I understand is that absolutely there is no comparison. Each one is in itself pure and beneficial. There's no need of, I mean, only this way it should be chanted. Here we were taught Krishna Yajurveda in the South Indian way. So that's how all are learning that way. But it does not mean that North Indian version, the North Indian recension of chanting Vedas is anyway different or anything less effective. So I think that need not at all arise. Everything is good. Veda is Veda. It's just based on so many factors, the different recensions would have come. We do not know because it was never kept track. It is not like a scientific knowledge which is done research. It was passed from the guru to Sishya, the Guru Sishya Parampara. It is this thing, and they did not pay attention to these nitty-gritty small details because they concentrated more on the fundamentals and the most important essentials. Most of the time, we actually get lost into these nitty-gritty details and then forget the main thing. The main thing is more important than the periphery thing. These are no doubt important, but then the main thing is to be concentrated. So Swami says that everything is absolutely perfect.
Even if
Whatever
you
it is.
take normal chanting, our I'll just add one point here. Even in the normal chanting, say what we have learned. Some disturbance is coming. Even in the normal chanting, from what we have learned, right? There is a normal Samhita way of chanting. There's Ghana way of chanting. There's Krama way of chanting.
Correct,
There's
correct. Yeah.
Jata way of chanting, right? So each one is again a different vibration it produces. It's a different way of chanting. So I think we don't need to necessarily get, as ShivShankar Sai just now said, we don't need to get lost into this nitty-gritties. While getting the right words, getting the right intonations are important, and our journey should be towards that perfection. We shouldn't get bogged down that or get into thinking that only one way of chanting is right and another way is inferior to this.
Sure.
Whatever the teacher teaches, we should go with it. That's it.
Bhimeshwar Garu,
Yeah. So the all of them are different paths to reach the same goal. That is how we should take it.
so anything is fine as long as it is given by your guru. But
Right.
I just want to curious. A thought came to me. Uh, I think Vednaran, somebody was mentioning to me that one day that it is the gurus who have their own flavors they add. Something like in Rudram, in one of the Anuvaka, in before that we chant 4 times Omkar, which is not before anything. Do you have any point on that? Like, why did we add that 4 Omkars before that?
That's only to get see, some things do happen. See, for example, even for that matter, after the first anvakam, namaste astu bhagavan
Om
vishveshwaraya
Namaste Astu.
mahadevaya,
Om
om
Namaste.
namaste, some people say, right? Then shambhave namaha, some people start with shambhave
Shambhave Namaha.
namaha, namaste astu bhagavan, right? Similarly, before namasomaya cha rudraya cha, just to get the flavor that we are to get more connected with
Hara
the
Hara Hara.
Lord, the Rudra Rupa. So we say Om Hara 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 Hara. For that matter, even Triambakam Yajamahe is not a part of Namakam. You know that it has got added from another part of the Vedam to Namakam. Namaka mantra, as it is, if you look at in the
Yeah, you
Yajurveda,
can
it
hear the
doesn't have
thought.
Triambakam Yajamahe, right? So these things get added just to help us connect with the Lord. See, finally, we have to connect with the Lord as we are chanting, right? So if all these things help us to connect, like while someone was performing Abhishekam, I saw the other day, Om Namah Shivaya cha Shivataraya cha Namastithya. It has to continue, no? He was repeating Om Namah Shivaya cha Shivataraya cha Om Namah Shivaya cha Shivataraya cha Om Namah Shivaya cha Shivataraya cha Namastithya cha Pulya. That became 3 times. He did a modification there, but that is because he wanted to connect more. So there will be few modifications that will, for that matter, even Sri Suktam. Sri Suktam is one mantra I've seen chanted so many ways, even within the same southern style. So many changes are made, so many ways of chanting, so many lines are added, so many lines are not there in some way of chanting. So these changes do happen from one uh,
Guru to another Guru.
guru to another
From
guru.
another perspective, I see that when Abhishekam is going on, right, in Rudram, when it comes to Om Hara 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 Om, right, that is the time they break the coconut.
Yeah,
So
that's
Okay.
okay, so there are different ways of how it is done. So
So I think what you are, if I can understand rightly, it is basically your guru who has initiated this process, and the process which he has adopted, and we have the faith in the guru, so we follow that process, and that should help. So
it is Shruti.
Shruti, so that is all it is. So perfect. I think if there are any other questions from our listeners and viewers, can let me scan it. I think we have covered all of them. One more question is coming on the chanting part of it, but I'm not able to understand our Sri Anandayini. When we do yoga, we only attach sound to each chakra, like the sound of. If you can understand this, I'm sorry, sister, I'm not able to get it. Uh, chakra like the sound of lamb on the mooladharam chakra, vam on the Swadhishthanaam chakra, and so on. Is that true? I have no idea.
So, so,
These are
so, so each so each chakra has got some bijaksharas, and then there's a lamp attached to it. And when the Kundalini rises, right, the lamp is set to travel from one chakra to the other until the Sahasrara chakra. So, and that is where you get moksha by the time the lamp comes to the Sahasrara chakra. Okay, so that happens as you progress in your spiritual path from the Mooladhara chakra to
Is that
Sahasrara.
right?
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Sai,
and
sir, you're
then
saying?
I would also just mention, yes, these are the bija mantras which are associated with each of the chakras. There are colors which are associated with each of the chakras. There is a bija mantra which is associated with each of the chakras. So therefore, I mean, that's a whole science in itself.
That's
The
actually,
Kundalini.
yeah,
So
that's
therefore,
actually energy medicine.
energy medicine. So therefore, it is perfectly fine, and they have again the bija mantras to enhance the energy movement inside these nadis and the chakras. So therefore, absolutely fine. Is that true? Yes, it is true. Lam, Vam, and all these are there, definitely.
Sister, I hope you got the answer. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful arena to learn, and I can see that very authentically that Vedic knowledge is, as everybody has shared with us, is a contribution of so many seers from all strata of society, from all genders, who have contributed into this vast knowledge base, who have given us this beautiful, lineage, heritage of ours, which we can be proud of. And Bhagwan made it up as one of his prime purposes and mission in life to really promote it and make us get benefit of it. So, brothers, in conclusion, may I ask you all to, share your final thoughts for this episode as we conclude. So, I can start with anybody. So, Brother Anil, you can start.
Yes, I think at uh, the whole journey of sitting through this 2.5 hours has been a learning journey, right? There's so much of learning, so many perspectives that we get to understand, and there's so much of recapitulation as we keep listening to these various discussions. Bhagwan's discourses, Bhagwan's statements flash in mind, and that is how we connect. And it's a way of reliving the memories that we have spent with in this divine physical presence. So ever grateful to Bhagwan for this wonderful opportunity to relive those memories, and thanks to my brothers and Abhi. Thanks for this wonderful time that we have spent in recalling. It's everything that we have discussed is actually what Bhagwan has taught us. Various ways Bhagwan in so many discourses, actually innumerable discourses, Bhagwan has mentioned so many subtle points. Only when we sit through and try, suddenly it flashes in our mind, we tend to understand the deeper significance of what Bhagwan has said, right? So there's really a wonderful, at least for me, it has been a glorious journey, a journey where there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of insight. The more we think of Bhagwan's message, the greater is the insight that we keep getting. Each time we ruminate on his message, there's a new meaning that comes. I think that's what is mantra drashta all about. So another new meaning flashes in our mind. So the more we keep thinking of it, and each time the new meaning flashes, I have found one thing. That's why I'm saying it could be a drashta. There's a kind of joy that comes from within. A new meaning flashes, there's a kind of thrill that comes in the mind, means in the from within. So I think that's what is drashta all about. Possibly, I don't know,
In that
but
small
that's the
moment,
journey that I'm
in that
going through.
small
Yeah,
moment, we become Mantrastras.
yeah. So
Thank you so
thank
much.
you, really, thank you. Sai Ram.
Brother Bhimeshwar Garu, your perspective.
Yeah, I should say, thanks for the opportunity provided to me to be part of this discussion. It is like what Swami said, right? We have a lamp and it has been used for quite long, and then all the black fog has formed and the light is not visible, and so hence we become ignorant and the knowledge is not seen. And this type of sessions that Abhi has arranged with the help of Bhagwan, Swish, help us to remove the black fog on the lamp and make us more knowledgeable with the light that comes from within, and make us aware of what knowledge is and how we gain the knowledge is through such sessions. Thanks Abhi, and thanks brother ShivShankar Sai and also Anil Kumar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Hi,
you.
sir.
I'll just be brief, and I'll just bank on the simile which I've earlier mentioned, which Swami has given. There are so many signals around us, so many thoughts have been thrown, and so much of knowledge is there. Whatever resonates with each of us, just take that much, but put it into practice. That's all Swami says. No need don't get overwhelmed by the vastness of the knowledge which is Vedas, which none of us can claim that anywhere near understanding of that one. But do not you just enjoy the vastness. That's all. Don't get cowed down by that sort of enormity of the Vedas. I don't know this, I don't know that. No need to know everything. Whatever resonates with your heart, this resonance, let it be struck and just absorb that one, put into practice. Saira.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Really grateful to Bhagwan, honestly, because we are venturing into such areas which personally I feel too small even to, even to moderate this. Is so big a task in a way. But by Bhagwan's grace, we are able to at least think about these topics and remember what our Lord has taught us and whatever we are able to grasp from Him. As for the request coming in from the people, I would be posting this 8 mantras of Chakra Shuddhi on the comment section of the YouTube. So when the video gets uploaded onto the YouTube, you can see that there. So you can pick it up from there and hopefully practice it. So that way it will be helpful. So thank you once again, brothers. Sai Ram, and offering our Bhagwans our gratitude and hope we can continue this journey more and more. And thank you. Sai Ram. Sai Ram.